The passengers of SS Athenia were running from war, but war found them first. One peaceful night, no alarms, no warnings. Just a sudden explosion that ripped through the dark and turned a safe voyage into the very first civilian massacre of World War II. Mothers vanished, children screamed, and the ocean became a battlefield before the world even knew the war had begun. The first civilian victims of World War II didn't die in a city. They died here, on SS Athenia, a passenger ship full of mothers, children, and families who thought they were safe. In the first hours of the war, a single mistake turned this peaceful voyage into a nightmare. September 3rd, 1939. Just 8 hours after Britain declared war on Nazi Germany, an ordinary passenger ship was sailing peacefully across the Atlantic Ocean. On board were families, tourists, children, and travelers who believed they were far away from the dangers rising in Europe. But beneath the calm surface of the sea, a German submarine lurked silently, preparing to fire the first shot of World War II. This is the mystery of the SS Athenia, the ship whose sinking exposed a global lie, launched international outrage, and marked the true beginning of the deadliest war in human history. The SS Athenia was never a threat. She wasn't a warship or a military vessel. She carried no weapons, no soldiers, and no hidden cargo. She was simply an ocean liner designed to move people safely between continents. On September 1st, 1939, the very day Germany invaded Poland, the Athenia left Glasgow, Scotland, heading toward Canada. On board were more than 1,400 passengers. Mothers with their children, elderly couples seeking safety abroad, American and British tourists returning home, and dozens of crew members who had performed this routine voyage many times before. Tension in Europe was rising, but life on board still felt normal. People enjoyed meals, read newspapers, played cards, and talked about whether war would truly break out. No one believed danger could reach them, far from the borders of Europe. The ship moved calmly across the Atlantic, unaware that history was about to change forever. 2 days later, on September 3rd, Britain officially declared war on Nazi Germany. The announcement shook the world. Radio broadcasts echoed the grim news across Europe and beyond. But in the middle of the Atlantic, the Athenia continued toward Canada. Captain James Cook, aware of the wartime risks, immediately ordered the ship to begin sailing in a zigzag pattern, a defensive move used to avoid submarine attacks. It was a wise decision, but unfortunately, the danger was already too close. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, a German U-boat, U-30, was patrolling the area. The submarine was commanded by Fritz Julius Lemp, a young and ambitious officer who wanted to impress his superiors. Peering through his periscope, Lemp spotted a large vessel on the horizon. He studied its silhouette carefully. In his mind, he believed he was looking at an armed British auxiliary cruiser, a disguised warship used to attack German vessels. He had no idea it was the SS Athenia, filled with civilians. Without confirming the identity of the ship, he made the decision that would haunt him and the world for decades. At 7:40 p.m., Lemp ordered his crew to fire. A torpedo slashed through the dark water, racing toward the Athenia at deadly speed. Passengers on board had no warning, no alarms, no announcement, not even a flicker of danger. The explosion was sudden and violent. A deafening blast tore through the ship's side, shaking passengers off their feet. Lights flickered and dimmed. Furniture toppled. Water poured rapidly into lower compartments. Panic erupted instantly as terrified passengers rushed through hallways trying to understand what happened. The Athenia began to tilt to one side. Families grabbed their loved ones. Crew members sprinted to their emergency stations. Parents searched desperately for their children. The calm evening turned into chaos within seconds. Captain Cook recognized immediately that the ship had been attacked. Despite the shock, he stayed composed. He ordered the crew to send out a distress signal and begin loading lifeboats. His quick decision-making saved countless lives. The crew worked tirelessly, lowering lifeboats in rough seas and darkness. Women and children were placed first, but launching lifeboats was far from easy. Some fell unevenly and crashed into the water. Others spilled passengers as waves pushed them against the ship's hull. Still, the crew and many brave passengers kept helping one another. Within minutes, the SS Athenia was sinking slowly but steadily. The sight was heartbreaking. Lifeboats drifting away, people jumping into the water, and families being separated in the dark. Yet, in the middle of the chaos, incredible acts of bravery took place. Tourists comforted crying children. Nurses tended to bleeding survivors with almost no supplies. Crew members returned again and again to pull more people into lifeboats, even after the decks were nearly underwater. The night grew colder. Lifeboats floated across the black ocean, rising and falling in the rough waves. People huddled together for warmth. Some whispered prayers. Some sang softly to keep children calm. Many feared they would not survive until morning. But then, a distant light appeared on the horizon. The first rescue ship to arrive was a Norwegian vessel called the SS Knut Nelson. It had seen the distress signals and changed course, but conditions made rescue extremely dangerous. As lifeboats approached the Knut Nelson, waves slammed them into the steel sides of the ship. Some passengers slipped into the sea. Others held on desperately as crew members threw ropes and nets to pull them aboard. Minutes later, another vessel arrived, the yacht Southern Cross. Then, the British destroyer HMS Electra reached the scene. These ships worked tirelessly through the night, pulling survivors from lifeboats and from the freezing water. Their bravery saved more than 1,000 lives. By sunrise, the sea was calmer, but the emotional toll was clear. Exhausted survivors sat wrapped in blankets, crying quietly. Many looked back at the empty ocean, knowing the Athenia had completely disappeared beneath the waves. A total of 117 people lost their lives, including 28 Americans. News of the attack spread rapidly. Newspapers around the world printed the headline, "Passenger ship sunk." Shock turned to anger. People demanded to know, why would Germany attack civilians? Why fire on women and children? But then, something unbelievable happened. Germany denied everything. Hitler's government released an official statement claiming Germany did not attack the SS Athenia. They blamed Britain instead. They even suggested that the British might have sunk their own ship to manipulate global opinion. The world was stunned. Many suspected Germany was lying, but some people, confused by propaganda, weren't sure what to believe. Behind closed doors, however, the truth was much darker. When U-30 returned to Germany, Commander Fritz Lemp confessed to his superiors that he had mistakenly torpedoed a civilian vessel. Hitler was furious. He knew the world would see this attack as evidence of German aggression. So he made a decision. The truth must be buried. The German Navy ordered U-30's logs to be rewritten. Crew members were instructed to stay silent. Nazi propaganda newspapers printed stories blaming the British. Every trace of responsibility was erased, or so they hoped. For years, Germany maintained the lie. They denied any involvement, even as survivors testified and international investigators presented evidence. But the truth can't stay hidden forever. After the war ended, surviving U-boat officers finally revealed what had really happened. They confirmed that U-30 had indeed sunk the SS Athenia and that the cover-up had been ordered by the highest levels of Nazi leadership. The sinking of the Athenia had a powerful impact. It was the first major act of aggression by Germany against civilians in World War II. It shattered any illusion that the war would be fought only between armies. It revealed how far dictatorships would go to hide their crimes and manipulate public opinion. And it showed how ordinary, innocent people could become victims of decisions made in distant political offices. For the survivors, the trauma lasted a lifetime. Many never forgot the moment the explosion ripped through the ship. They remembered the screams, the icy water, the fear of drifting in the darkness, and the heartbreak of losing family members. Their stories continue to remind us of the human cost of war. Today, the wreck of the SS Athenia rests deep in the Atlantic Ocean, a silent grave in the darkness. It stands as a powerful reminder of the tragedy that marked the true beginning of World War II, a moment when peace collapsed, when lies spread faster than truth, and when ordinary people paid the price for decisions far beyond their control. The story of the Athenia teaches us that war rarely begins with grand battles or dramatic declarations. Instead, it often starts with a single spark, a mistake, a lie, or a reckless decision that spirals into catastrophe. And in that sense, the Athenia was not just a ship. She was the first warning to the world that something far more devastating was coming.